I want to talk about a really easy way of learning to play and use ninth arpeggios. Now you can use this approach for all of the different variants of the ninth arpeggio, but I thought I'd just focus on the major ninth this week. And you can also think of this as an extension of the video that I did last week on the anatomy of a pentatonic scale, because I'm going to use some of those concepts to show you how to learn the ninth arpeggio in every position going up the neck. But what I thought I'd cover this week is the reason why I wanted to learn the major ninth in the first place, the problem I was trying to solve. And then I will go into some detail about why ninths are so similar in a lot of ways to pentatonic scales. And then I'll show you a really easy way of learning all of the ninth arpeggios going up and down the neck really quickly if you just adapt the approach that I used last week. So let's start by going into the detail about why I started to use major ninth arpeggios. So let's zoom in. So the problem I was trying to solve was this. If that's my major chord, I knew how to use the pentatonic over the major chord. But when I changed it to a major seventh, I kind of noticed that the root, strangely, didn't really fit as well as I'd like it to. That note. So, which was kind of weird to me because it's the root note of the chord. And the reason why it didn't fit that I realised was because of that major seventh in the chord. So there's a major seventh and there's a root. And you get this kind of a clash between the two. And in fact, there's a clash between the sixth and that major seventh as well. So I wanted to find a scale that fitted right in the pocket of this major seventh sound. And that's when I started experimenting with ninths, and in this case the major ninth. Because in the major ninth, instead of playing the sixth, you'd play the seventh. Hear how that sits over the top of that? Because it gives you that major seventh note that you can use to resolve to as well. And once you establish the harmony of the line that you're playing, you can start to introduce the other notes as well. Like that. Okay. So the ninth arpeggios in general can be thought of as being very similar in a lot of ways to the pentatonic scale. For example, there are 5 notes in an octave. So there's a root, there's the second or the ninth, the third, the fifth and the seventh. So 5 notes in an octave, just like the pentatonic scale. And just like the pentatonic scale, they're kind of harmonically focused, but you can find melodies in them as well. So it has a nice sort of balance between harmony and melody built into the arpeggio itself. So I really like that. And also, because there are 5 notes in an octave, you can lay them out on the guitar neck very similarly to the pentatonic scale. So you can put 2 notes on a string. And as soon as you put 2 notes on a string, you can start using some of the licks and the ideas and some of the motor skills you already have for playing the pentatonic scale and use them for playing the ninth arpeggio. So it's actually quite easy to sort of migrate from being able to play the pentatonic scale and use licks on that and take those licks and use them over the ninth arpeggio as well. So that's why I really like using ninths and all the different variants of the ninth arpeggios. So how do you go about learning these? Well, let me go through that because it can be really straightforward, especially if you use some of the ideas that I've already spoken about. So let's zoom in and I'll show you. Okay, so last week I went through what I call the anatomy of the pentatonic scale. So I broke it down and I demonstrated how every one of the positions of the pentatonic scale going up the neck can be thought of as being built from just 2 shapes. And the first shape looks like this. Yeah. And the second shape looks like this. So if this is new information to you, go and check that video out, because I go into this in a lot more detail in that and show you how you can work all of the shapes out going up the neck just using those two positions. But if we start with that as a piece of information, what we can do is adapt those two shapes to turn them into major ninth shapes. And what we do, and it's very easy to do that, so if we start with that first shape, it looks like that, and if we turn it into a major ninth, it looks like this. Okay? And similarly, that second shape turns from into this. Okay? So now knowing that, all we need to do is to take those two shapes and just unplug the pentatonic shape and plug the ninth shape in the major ninth shape, and suddenly you've got a major ninth arpeggio in each one of the positions going up the neck. Let me show you. So if we start with this pentatonic scale shape just here, this is the C major, A minor pentatonic. So let's turn that into a major ninth, C major ninth. So we start with that first shape and then adapt it to create this. And that second shape. Yeah, and then the first shape again, first string of that first shape. So I've just created a major ninth pentatonic. How about moving up? So this starts with the last string of the second shape, then moves on to the first shape, and then on to the second shape again. Okay, the next position up starts with that second shape, to the first shape, to the second shape again. Yeah, it's as easy as that. So the next position starts with that first shape, moves on to the second shape, back to the first shape. Yeah, and then the last position starts with the middle string of that second shape to the first shape to the second shape again, and then we're back up to that root position. So that's it. Hopefully you can see you can take those ideas from last week and use it to learn a completely different scale really quickly. So if you've got those ideas, if you understand the pentatonic scale already, if you understand how to find those two shapes in the pentatonic scale in each of the positions already, it's really a matter of 5 minutes or so to learn how to reapply those to create the major ninth arpeggio, which is really powerful, I think. So anyway, hopefully that was useful for you. Give it a try. Try it over that major seventh sound or over sort of major chords in general and see what you find, see how you find it. Anyway, that's it for this week, and we'll chat next time. Goodbye.